Hey, shh. Calm down. The show is about to start. Reese on the radio. Turn it up. Turn it up low. Turn it up loud.
It's like a dream come true.
Turn on your radio. Reese is on the radio.
Yo, let's get it.
Due to the nature of this program, discretion does not exist. It's Reese on the radio. Right now on WTIC News Talk 1080.
Okay, what's up, all you scallywags out there? Truth on the Radio, News Talk 1080 WTIC Sunday show. Why do I feel like there's a cold coming? It better not. It better not come. Anyway, so you guys know where to find Reese on the Radio. Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. You can always catch us on reeseontheradio.com. And, of course, all the social media outlets that are out there. And give us a holler during the week, 860-522-WTIC. Not now, not during today's show, but, just reach out, listen to the show, tell your friends. We got plenty of news and plenty of views to get into. Speaking of news, there isn't a lot out there. I want to talk a little bit about this Obama scandal with the Obamas in general. We'll get to that in a little bit, so stick around for that. I have an opinion on that, but it has less to do with the Obamas and more to do with people who support the Obamas and look at them as a pillar of, I don't know, divinity in some way. Anyway, but we'll get into that later. I've been doing this bit, and I don't know if it's well received. I don't even think people really think about it on any level, but it's called Democrats Doing Democrat Things. And the reason why I even bring it up is after the election, all anyone could talk about, and in fact, some ways people still are, all they could talk about was why Democrats lost. And I think that there's a bit of presumption in that question. Remember when Hillary Clinton wrote the book, What Happened? And she was arguing every day, trying to understand, like, what's going on? Why am I 6 points down? I remember she famously opined on one of the cable news shows. And she was very angry and erratic about it, which showed the arrogance of Hillary Clinton. And I think that's what we're witnessing here. There's so much autopsy being done on the Democrat Party because they cannot believe no one saw the issues their way. So it's like, to them, it's like, wait a minute. We're the discarded group? That can't be. And I think that there's a reason for this in their defense. I'll say it like that. In their defense, here's where they're coming from, if I can so much suggest for them. There has been a momentum in their party that has been overwhelming. And when it didn't go their way, the assumption was there were other mitigating factors, like outside efforts that tripped them up. And it had nothing to do with their cause or their point of view. It was other things, outside influence. Famously, going back to Hillary Clinton, she was making claims like women listening to their husbands and sons and not to their best interest. We got that a lot. So, in other words, these women were henpecked, right? They didn't have enough. They didn't have the veracity or the gumption to vote for a woman. So they listened to their men in their lives. It's never about them. So you get an election like Barack Obama, which says in some way that your way of life, your ideology has broken through. And you get a re-election of Barack Obama, even when it's looking grim, and he still wins. And you go, yeah, we've got a trajectory going. And once they hit that trajectory, there ain't no coming down. And once it goes down, every excuse in the book comes out. what did we see? 2016. They had something to hold on to after the 2016 election. Even though Donald Trump strategically won the Electoral College, he did not win the overall vote. Hillary Clinton got 66 million, where Donald Trump only got 63. So he had to precisely carve out the country and get those people to vote for him so he can win that way. And then it immediately became about getting rid of the Electoral College because it's obvious the ideas of Democrats and liberals, they are far more popular. So then 2020 comes around and they win overwhelmingly, 80 million votes, 81 for Joe Biden. Donald Trump, 75 million. But you know what? Clearly their agenda, trajectory, like we got Joe Biden in. I mean, the hapless Joe Biden. We weren't interested in this guy in 2008. We damn sure weren't even interested in him in 2016. But 2020, we'll even throw this guy in there and we'll give him 81 million votes, more votes than anyone else. So he gives all the Democrats and the leftists, wow, gives them something to stand up on. Look at us. Everybody loves our ideas. And then 2024 happens. And don't forget, everyone loves their ideas. Joe Biden's out, but they've got what can only be described as the trifecta. We've got a liberal black woman. There's nothing can stop us. There's no way. Didn't matter that she couldn't speak. Didn't matter that she couldn't put words together. Didn't matter that she had a policy. Didn't matter that she was the vice president of an abysmal president. Didn't matter. There's no way we can lose. And then they do. What are they left with? They will, what? And they're looking for the outside source, right? What's the outside reason that caused them to lose? It couldn't be our issues. It couldn't be our ideology. It couldn't be our orthodoxy. Not us. We've got trajectory. So they keep doing the autopsy over and over and over again. And it keeps coming up empty. We've told everybody what it is. The Democrats are never going to change. They're going to be the party that they are. And they alienated everyone over the last 10, 15 years. That's what they did. Continuously alienated everybody in the country that says either you get with us or we will get rid of you. See it our way or we will cancel you. We will destroy your lives. That's what they did. And we've got apparatus to do that. We've got Facebook. We've got Twitter. We've got Instagram. We've got all the means of communication in this world. We got the mainstream media. We will ostracize you. We will put you in a box and keep you there. And then all of a sudden, things started to change. Alternative media got big. And when the alternative media got big, more and more people started going to that and realizing that all the stuff that was being fed to them was everywhere else. I don't need to go through this. You know where we are today. But when we come back, I'm going to show you another example of what I'm talking about. I said this a long time ago. Democrats cannot let go of who they are. They believe and they continue to believe that what they think is the way to go. There's no rethinking their approach. They know that they're right. And when they see a growing number of people who are opposed to them, they don't see that as a sea change. They see that as opposition. They know they're right. That's it. Even though people are screaming at them, telling them to rethink their ideas, people on their own side. I'm going to give you an example of that in a minute when we get back. So stick around. We got more news and more views than you can shake a stick at. The Obama bros are going to break down exactly what I'm talking about when we return. Stick around. It's Reese on the radio on NewsTalk 1080 WTIC. Yes. Give it to him. We're back. It's Reese on the radio, NewsTalk 1080 WTIC. Don't forget, you can always give us a holler over at reeseontheradio.com whenever you like. That's REESE on the radio.com. Check out the stupidest thing I've read today. A lot of interesting stories, quirky stuff here and there, and even some big news in some of the events happening during the week, plus a whole bunch of other stuff. And you can even catch this show by going to reeseontheradio.com. You could listen to it. I can't say commercial free anymore because actually it's now limited commercials. I don't even understand that. But anyway, doesn't matter. Go check it out. Tell your friends, share it, like it, all that good stuff. So in the last break, as I was breaking down the election of 2024 and why people keep doing this whole autopsy, some people have said, oh, let it go. You lost. Why is everybody obsessing over it? It's, again, and I think this is on both sides. I believe that Republicans who are obsessed about the win versus the loss, as well as the Democrats who think about the win as well as the loss, I think that in their minds there was some doubt. And I think that many people got caught up in the momentum of the Democrat Party. And that was the more, the more social issues played a part in our body politic. The Democrats seemed to be winning those arguments until there was a slight sea change. And I saw it earlier than anyone else. And again, I don't say that to brag. I want to make sure that I'm not bragging. But I've talked about this. I keep telling people about this one event. And it was when the CEO of Chick-fil-A was being raked over the coals by the news media. And because in an interview, he said, I guess about gay marriage, he said that because of his Catholic faith, and I'm paraphrasing here, but he said because of his Catholic faith, he could not agree with same-sex marriage. And that is his religious right to do so. If it was a Muslim Chick-fil-A, nobody would have batted an eye. Or, in fact, the reporter would have never asked. They'd have just moved on. Hey, how do you make good nuggets? That would have been the case. But he said no. And because of that, it created a firestorm within the gay community, if not the entire LGBTQ community. And they had decided that they were going to stage these kiss-ins. And I have no idea what they were actually called. But in essence, the gist of it was the gay community was going to go to Chick-fil-A's across the country. And they were going to go in there and they were going to make out in the lobby or by the front counter to send the Chick-fil-A CEO a message. You know, we're queer, we're here, get used to it. Okay? And Chick-fil-A fans, I don't know what their stripes were. I don't know what political affiliation they had. But the Chick-fil-A fans responded by just showing up. They just ordered chicken. And the lines were around the corner and people waited hours. Chick-fil-A was running out of stock in many cases. I know you remember it. You might remember that other vice president who ended up being fired. He videotaped himself chastising a drive-through employee and filming her talking about how she needs to stop with all of the hate. And she was just respectful and cordial. She goes, no, sir, I don't hate anyone. We're here to serve you. It is our pleasure to serve you. She's being very kind. He looks like a bully. He's fired from his job like less than a week later, completely destroyed. All of that happened because, again, that community, the LGBTQ community, got over its skis on that issue, suggesting that the CEO of Chick-fil-A didn't have a right to say what he believed. And they responded in kind. That was the shot across the bow. That should have been the point where everybody recognized, okay, this social issue thing, making it political, it may not fly. And I'll tell you why it didn't fly, because people saw it as bullying. And that will always get you to get a bunch of people to rile up against the bully. It just does. And guess what? And the beauty of it is, who's been preaching everybody getting together and surrounding the bullied to fight the bully? The left. The left has been telling us that all our lives. If you see bullying in school, you need to all surround the bully and show support for the bullied. Well, it came back to bite them. And of course, you remember the other cases, right? We don't have to go through Bud Light again. We don't have to go through Target again. But every time one of these organizations went left, everybody went right. And again, no political affiliations to the right. It was just people who had had enough. Target did it again. In fact, before the Bud Light issue and before the Target issue, there was a smaller issue, quietly kept, because it got a little bit of a groundswell, but it was more online than it did in sort of like the media scape. It was when Target had told people that no matter what your biological sex was, you could use any bathroom of your choosing. And people were filming themselves going into bathrooms while biological men were going in there, saying, I identify as a woman. And people started talking about leaving Target then. There was a groundswell. All of a sudden, that stopped. So, where are we today? We get to the Obama boys. Guys like John Favreau, Dan Pfeiffer. What's the other guy's name? I can't remember his name right now. But anyway, these two individuals. Let me play what Dan Pfeiffer had to say. I thought this was interesting. He's talking about, after the election, what Democrats began to do in light of realizing that the American people had rejected their ideas.
It just feels like the same people are doing the same things they were doing 6 months ago, as opposed to really rethinking how we communicate, how we speak, right? Not our message. Like, how do we actually, what are the words that come out of our mouth? How do we sound different? What are we going to do that's different than before?
And there you have it. And no one is saying the most important part. Dan Pfeiffer even misses it in that little quote, in that little clip. It's not so much that they continue to do the things that they're doing, is that no one is checking them on it. No one is saying to them, hey, that didn't work last time. We need to move on. We've still got black leaders like Al Sharpton saying that we need to have DEI. We need to continue with DEI. It's a failed idea. You got people on The View still talking about we got to keep DEI, even though they're being told that DEI doesn't work. Listen to this exchange between Sarah Hines and Sunny Houston on The View.
University of Michigan, $85 million in a 5-year DEI plan. The Black Student Union said $85 million was spent, and yet Black students' experience on campus has hardly improved, and enrollment has gone down. So that's one example of saying that
Harvard Law School, the
it's not just a criticism of diversity; it's a criticism of the programs being effective. And the one thing I will say that is, as we push DEI, that's not what I'm reading, but.
Again, even when the facts are presented to Sunny Houston, she refuses to listen to them because, again, they don't care. It's the victimhood, victimization, oppressor versus oppressed. It's that ideology. They can't let it go. They don't care if it's a losing argument. They are tethered for life. They're not even tethered. They're chained to these ideas. Super glued, if you will. They're never going to let it go, and they can't. And they're just going to have to keep losing and losing and losing until the people on the left start doing what they did to people on the right, canceling them. They're going to have to cancel their own and get back to basics. Or just tell them that their ideas suck. One or the other. But they're never going to win again. We'll be back. It's Reese on the radio on NewsTalk 1080 WTIC. All right, we're back. It's Reese on the radio, NewsTalk 1080 WTIC. Again, don't forget to check us out at reeseontheradio.com. That's REESE on the radio.com. Plenty of news and views there as well. And, of course, the rebroadcast of this program. You can find that any day of the week if you go to reeseontheradio.com. We're at this point where everybody needs a tabloid story as a distraction. And I have to admit, we got a good one this time. This one is probably better than a lot of tabloid stories for so many reasons. Barack Obama and Michelle Obama recently celebrated an anniversary, a wedding anniversary. And they were at some restaurant, a private room, and he took a photo and he posted it. But all of that was happening with this backdrop of Michelle Obama not showing up at certain events. And it would have been one thing if she hadn't showed up at the inauguration. That makes sense. She has openly and publicly talked about how Donald Trump gives her agita, makes her feel queasy, has given her depression. I get it. If she hadn't shown up for that and that alone, I would have gotten it. Totally makes sense. But she didn't show up for Jimmy Carter's funeral. Now, again, I don't know what any Democrat has against Jimmy Carter. Republicans understood. Democrats, not so much. I remember how outraged I was when Barack Obama didn't show up to Nancy Reagan's funeral, even after she supported him and his efforts to approve stem cell research, to do that research for Alzheimer's, which, of course, famously Ronald Reagan had. So I thought it was almost incumbent upon Barack Obama to show up at her funeral, showing her the respect that she showed him, coming from the opposite side of the political aisle. But again, Jimmy Carter doesn't make sense for Michelle Obama not to show up. So at that point, people were saying, wow, why wouldn't she show up? And then rumors started swirling. People started to talk. And it had been around for a while that, you know what? They were not really seen together. And they had not been seen together on many occasions before the election. She'd be in Spain where Barack would be in the States, and she'd be jet-setting everywhere and writing books and doing book tours. They didn't seem to be this unified married front. And of course, the kids got older and they moved on and did their own thing. So that only sort of fueled the speculation that maybe there was trouble in paradise. Not that I really cared. People get divorced all the time. But I looked at this in a lot of ways. So I'm going to go back a little bit here. You might remember a little more than a year ago, there were these letters that were published that Barack Obama had sent to his ex-girlfriend. And in the letters, it was revealed that Barack Obama talked about his fantasies. And in his fantasies, he talked about being sexually involved with men. And this lended itself to the story by Larry Sinclair. This was the man in 2008 who came forward saying that he smoked crack and had relations with Barack Obama. Now, under any other circumstances, this story would have been everywhere. Bill Clinton, ring a bell? Jennifer Flowers? Paula Jones? These stories, sexual impropriety in some way, always gets the headlines. You know that. It's salacious. They love it. But Barack Obama, no traction on this story. Even at the time when the left was trying to promote being homosexual, not a problem. No big deal. But for some odd reason, it was a problem for Barack Obama. Why? Well, the obvious reasons. It wouldn't go over very well with the African-American community, even though it's more acceptable now in the black community than it was in 2008. But it would probably thwart the efforts to keep African-Americans on the side of Barack Obama. Because remember, they were all on Hillary Clinton's campaign until the news media, sort of suggested to people that it might be beneficial if we had the first black president as opposed to the first woman. Okay, so anyway, so that story went away, but everyone was murmuring around talking about Barack Obama and his sexual exploits with men. This was everywhere, but it was never mainstream. But finally, these letters come out, and it is a little mainstream. Not very, but a little mainstream. Barack Obama was not made to respond to them. No one put him on the spot, said, hey, what's up with these letters? Just waited until it faded in the news cycle and moves on. So here we are. Michelle Obama, Barack Obama may be on the rocks. Okay, that's fine. Then we hear this news story. What's the news story? Well, this one is even more, I would say, surprising. Rumor has it that Barack Obama has been very chummy in a romantic way with none other than Friends star and alum Jennifer Aniston, Rachel, which, again, me personally find very odd. Now, everyone is just losing their mind because it's Barack and Michelle. And Barack secretly seeing Jennifer Aniston? Wow. But again, I know what all that's about, and they're refusing to say the obvious. Because the deity of African-American culture, Barack Hussein Obama, would leave his black queen for the whitest woman in America. I mean, we are talking about Mrs. White. This Jennifer Aniston. I mean, she is like OG Taylor Swift. Like, you know that. Barack Obama, imagine if, and again, if there are any truths to these stories, it is a bombshell no matter what. Now, look, I'm looking at this from a completely different perspective. I think the Jennifer Aniston thing is a rub. I think it's a ruse. I don't believe any of it. I believe that Jennifer Aniston in all of this is a beard. I really do. I think we're being duped again. I really, really do. In my view, I think Barack Obama's gay. And I don't think that there are a lot of people out there who disagree with me. I really do believe that Barack Obama's gay, or at least bisexual. Again, not that I have any problems with, I don't care. I really don't. But I think that what creates the issue for guys like me in the business of having to do talk shows is, dude, you're in a public eye. If there's ever an ally that was needed in the LGBTQ community, it would be a former president. Okay? You could be the Michael Sam of politics. Okay, maybe not Michael Sam. Okay? God, he blew that, didn't he? No pun intended. That was horrible. So, my point is, Barack Obama, please, for the love of Pete, just tell everyone that, you're bisexual, or else face the wrath of what the African-American community is going to do after you leave Michelle Obama for what can be only described as the whitest woman in the universe. I mean, Jennifer Aniston, you could have picked any white woman. Angelina Jolie would get you a pass. That's an acceptable white woman to the black community. Maybe even Charlize Theron. I don't know if she was available, but I'm just saying there are certain white women that you could be associated with. Perhaps Gwyneth Paltrow. No, too white, sorry. I don't know. I'm trying to think of one. Who could possibly be a white woman that would be acceptable to the African-American community? God, they're going to call him a sellout. I feel bad for him. I can't wait to see what Black Twitter says. It ought to be interesting. That's just my view. I don't believe it. I think that it very well may be true that Michelle Obama and Barack Obama are getting a divorce. It could be very true that Barack Obama is seeing someone else on the side, but it's not a woman. I'm sorry. It's not. And if it is a woman, God, if it's Jennifer Aniston, forget about it. I'm just going to sit back and just watch the fireworks behind that. Oh, the betrayal. You can't even put him out on the stump anymore after that. Like, you can't send him to Chicago to talk about, and they're building, I just realized that, they're building a library in Chicago for him. Ooh, that could be interesting. Well, this could be very interesting. Let's take a break and wrap this puppy up when we get up out of here. It's Reese on the radio on NewsTalk 1080 WTIC.
Reese on the radio, making sense of the news, even when it makes no sense at all. Now on WTIC, News Talk 1080.
It's a sad, sad day. Yeah, sad day for the news media. Reese on the radio, News Talk 1080 WTIC. I don't really feel bad for the news media and the trouble they've gotten themselves into so far. And I think the only interest I have in this story for me is I'm a business owner. And I only had this business for a little more than 5 years. I never thought that I would ever own a business, but, I kind of was led down that road. I left the job and needed to find a way to make income and came up with this idea, and it worked for 5 years, and I made money off of it, and I employed people. And sometimes desperation will cause you to, do things like that. So I've done it. I've been a business owner. Can't wait to get out of it, to be honest with you. But I got to understand the inner workings, what works, what doesn't, how you have to change, sometimes having to lower your rates. Take a pay cut, not pay yourself. I know it all. Really caught in the market and how it fluctuates, and the times when you don't make any money or very little. And I understand that. I understand those inner workings. So I come at these business models in other places and I ask myself, maybe it's the industry I don't understand. Because in my view, I'm going, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. Why are they making that move? I don't see how that makes money. And if you're looking at the numbers and you're seeing, it's like looking at any other grocery store. If CNN were a CVS, right? And I know that it's two different things, but I want to look at the core of what a business does, and that's serve customers. So CNN, in a lot of ways, is no different than a CVS. And if fewer people are coming to the store of CNN, if fewer people are patronizing the store, it means that there's less money coming into the store. How do you pay people? And you also look at stories like firing staff. 6% of staff is getting fired. This can't be winning. It can't be. This can't be an argument that says that the company is doing well. It would scare me if I were a business owner. I've got to fire people. I've got to send out 200 pink slips. Sure, it's going to come in from the HR department, but I can't go to shareholders. I can't go to anybody and say that my product is doing well if every year I'm firing more and more people. If fewer people are coming into my store, meaning viewers. So why are they doing it? I've got to shift people around. I got to shift the shifts around. I got to take this guy from the day shift and put him on the night shift because he's not getting me any money. It's like, what am I doing? It's like, the old saying, shuffling the deck chairs on the Titanic. But none of this stuff is working. And again, the people who are supposed to be, I guess, the top earners of this product at CNN, you're keeping them there even though they are trouble for the network. I got to admit, Anderson Cooper is not making the station better. Lauren Phillips is not making the network better. Jake Tapper is not making the network better. And I know that it's impossible because there are contracts. I get that. But at some point, you got to stop the bleeding. Now, recently, the CEO of CNN sent out a memo, or I guess had a meeting, and suggested that, look, CNN as a network may not survive. I mean, in my view, I'm like, what? Now, I know there's a lot of you are just going, what, you think? I get it. But look, I'm saying that CNN becoming obsolete is not a good thing. It's not a good thing, not for anyone. Because what that network should be able to do is to continue. Because that becomes sort of a template of other networks to do the same. Like you watch the survival, or survival's maybe a poor choice of words, but you know what I mean. Can a company survive by getting rid of an entity of itself, right? Like if Warner Brothers loses CNN and Warner Brothers gets a net profit from having offloaded them or getting rid of them, other companies see the value in that and going, oh, wow, they did well. You know what? We're wasting too much money here. And that's what corporations do. We've heard that since the 90s about how many companies just Get rid of the whole staff. They start cutting, and then finally the company is no more. And it turns out the parent company made more money just by selling it off or getting rid of it. They turned a profit by letting it go. That's what's going to happen to CNN. And the fact that the CEO of the network is now saying that, saying there's a strong possibility that CNN may not survive. What is CNN doing with that backdrop? Has it tried to change? No. It's like more people have decided to grab buckets of water and pour them into the Titanic. This thing isn't sinking fast enough. And do they not understand? You're out of a job, right? You're out of a job. And if your model is rejected across the board, there's not another job for you. There isn't. Now, I know that there are some people who might say things like, oh, integrity. Don't bother me. Please do not bore me with the integrity thing. Nothing these people have ever done has been about integrity. Proof of that is when they know that they've been telling a lie, when they know that they've been telling half-truths, and when they know that they were caught out there saying these things that were nonsensical and untrue, never once did they come back and apologize and even say, my bad. So there's nothing to do with integrity in their ideals. Nothing. There's nothing, no integrity there. So please spare me with that nonsense. These people have an opportunity to save their businesses. I know they're sitting there looking at Mark Zuckerberg and looking at Jeff Bezos and looking at the head of Google. It's not that I know his name, it's that I hate pronouncing it. Elon Musk, looking at all these people and then mocking them and saying, look at them bending the knee. We would never, while their ship sinks, standing around proudly while their business model is ineffective. And I don't understand it. Look, I love dissent. Reasonable, yes. I love the fact that a network has fashioned itself as the opposition to conservatism or just Donald Trump overall. But it isn't working. And it's messed up that no one wants to see it. They won't even look at it. Look, like I said, I don't know. I think about just the future of many mediums, and I get it, that there's a new culture. There's a new culture of media that's out there. You know, I'm a part of it. And being in this business, you know, I cannot cheer for the demise of another network. I find it incredible that people haven't seen the error in their ways. But I can't cheer this on. Like, I'm stunned every day that they don't get it together. I'm stunned. MSNBC, complete different animal. I mean, that CNN is a different thing. They can salvage something over there. MSNBC, forget about it. They've decided feet deep. They've decided they're going nowhere. And hey, God bless them. God bless them. When it's over, it's over, and then, you know, we'll say our goodbyes. But I don't know. For me, it's just something I'm interested in because I don't understand the mindset as a business owner. I don't get why they're not. Maybe people won't believe them. Maybe that's a part of the reason why. Maybe people would not believe the change if they were to do it. It would be a complete 180 out of nowhere, and people are like, "What? This isn't CNN." Maybe that's why. All right, it's time to get up out of here. Wow. Oh, man, we're running long. Let's get up out of here. As I always say, radio is free, so we thank you for paying attention. Remember to keep JC in your hearts and in your mind. Sean Patrick, we love you and we miss you. Remember that panic is not planning, so plan your work and work your plan. Me, I'm Reese on the radio. You have a good night, pleasant tomorrow. We'll see you back here on Monday, 3 p.m. Eastern on News Talk 1080 WTIC.